Hello, Sun City. Thank you for your time today and allowing us to share the information that we found from our community outreach. I'm Jill Hamblin with triArc Architecture and Design. I'm here with my colleague, Tom Connor, and then our partners with Last Architects, Brad Lang and Eric Sterner. We're going to share with you today our findings and the themes that we found that really stood out and showed a clear vision for what Mountain View can be. Thanks. Let's get started.
Great. Thanks, Jill. Hi, everyone. I'm Brad Lang with Last Architects. I wanted to kind of kick off this presentation with an overall purpose of what it is we've undertaken and what it is we're going to present to you today. So with this outreach effort, it is basically in addition to other efforts that have come before us in order to give us a very broad picture of how we should proceed with the Mountain View Recreation Center project. So in this presentation today, not only are we going to be presenting the findings from our community outreach efforts, but we're going to be overlapping those findings with what we've seen and heard and learned with usage data, with our facility assessment, and even the mission and values of RCSC as a kind of touch point, as a base foundation for making sure that we're on the right track with how we're pursuing this project. So, starting with the community outreach effort, it was a multi-prong effort. We had multiple in-person events that we attended, 6 in total. We were at your holiday party, we were at your bowling events, we were at your Mountain View open house event as well. And in addition, we also had an online survey. And this was to ensure that we were able to capture the broadest swath of your community to understand your needs and wants when it comes to Mountain View Recreation Center. With this community outreach, we had over 475 respondents with over 3,000 data points that helped us craft a series of guiding principles that we're going to go through with you. Also important is the process that we're undertaking. This process is meant to be engaged and transparent, and I'm sure a lot of you have seen us around your community, and that's just the beginning. This process that we're undertaking offers a multitude of opportunities for us to engage you along this journey on the Mountain View Recreation Center. So I think it's important that we start with the RCSC's mission and values as a way to ground this conversation about Mountain View Recreation Center. Looking at them and looking at what we found with your outreach and with our outreach efforts, some interesting parallels emerged. And those parallels, I think, give us a lot of confidence in how we are moving forward with the project. Looking at the RCSC mission, you see some key issues about being financially sustainable, providing a wide range of high quality amenities, being there to help each member's sense of well-being and purpose. These are all very great guiding principles, and we see those principles really come forward as we talk to the community throughout our outreach efforts. I think it's also important to look at the values as well, and we also see some interesting ideas that come forward again with the community outreach. What we heard from the community outreach from you, the community members. And so looking at these ideas of teamwork and contribution of the community, again, this is at the core of why we were embedding ourselves with you to learn more about the community and your needs. The idea that we need to constantly maintain and improve the amenities to keep Sun City as a forward-looking development. And also, interestingly enough, this idea of using data and using technology as a way to make really good decisions and be very transparent in our decision-making process. All of that we find is key to how we move forward with this process with you. So as a part of this idea of transparency and documentation, we've taken every piece of data that we've gathered, every engagement that we've had, and we've collected them in this compendium book, almost or maybe even more than 200 pages of information. that we've made available to the RCSE board and we'll make available to the community. So what you're going to hear today obviously is a summation of those major findings, but we wanted to make sure that all of our documentation was available to you as well. So we're going to dive into each of the individual questions, what we learned, and how we're going to move forward with Mountain View Recreation Center. Thank you.
Hey Sun City, this is Eric Sterner from Last Architects. I'll be running you through the 5 questions that you have either answered with us in person at our visioning sessions that we had at some locations around Sun City over the past few months, or online. And so what we did is we took the 3,000 data points under these questions and started to make guiding principles and themes. So the first question that we asked you was, what community values are essential to include in the Mountain View Recreation Center project? And while we didn't tip our hat at exactly why we were asking these questions when we met with you, we'll do so now. And question 1 really gets at the question as an invitation to reflect on the values that have always made Sun City a vibrant and inclusive community. So we're really trying to understand the non-negotiables from you guys in terms of what you want to see specifically at Mountain View. So on this screen, we have a summation of the findings from your answers as a community in terms of what you said are the top themes in what should be included at Mountain View. And so you envision a renovated Mountain View Recreation Center that is vibrant, inclusive, and sustainable, and it's a sustainable hub of community activity. The center should offer a diverse range of recreational, social, and cultural activities that cater to all ages 55 and over, abilities, and interests. So you'll see here the words in blue are the principles and themes. And then under there in the black text are actually your responses. We just took a few here and there that would filter under those guiding principles and themes. So I'll read through each of those. And so the first one is a fiscal responsibility. You believe that we should manage costs and resources effectively to ensure that the renovation is affordable and sustainable. You also believe that it should be inclusive and accessible, ensuring that the facility is accessible and inclusive for all residents, regardless of age, ability, or interests. And during this process, you desire community engagement and enrichment, some of which we have already done, reaching out to you to get this data, but you also want to be included in the process throughout its entire duration. And you want to create vibrant, dynamic spaces that foster community interaction when this center is built and offer a wide range of activities and events. You also want this to be done efficiently and effectively. And so your comments have said to us many times over that the renovation is long overdue and the community is discouraged and would like the plans fulfilled. So that's what we're starting to do today. And through this project, you want to amplify the quality of life and enjoyment. You want it to be easy, welcoming access for newcomers as well as regulars, and think about the future of Sun City, not just Sun City today. The next question we had asked was, in order to be successful, what aspects must the Mountain View Recreation Renovation Project address? And really what we're seeking to identify here are the essential characteristics that will transform the Mountain View Recreation Center into a thriving hub of community activity. So the summation here gave us, again, 5 main principles and themes, and you guys envision a renovated Mountain View Recreation Center that preserves existing amenities, enhances recreational and social activities, and prioritizes inclusivity, accessibility, and sustainability. So the first theme that we really derived from your feedback was preserving the existing amenities, really maintaining and enhancing existing beloved facilities. That includes the pool, the pickleball, the tennis, the lawn bowling, basically everything on that site. We want to at least keep the amenity offering that is currently there. We want to do this through renovation and modernization. We want to update the facilities, including the fitness center, the tiered auditorium, and ensure that they are safe, they're modern, and accessible. You've said things to us like provide facilities that address the needs and use of the RCSC members while maintaining a reasonable budget for completion. So again, that idea of cost effectiveness and sustainability came up, and your comments have said be fiscally responsible while meeting the recreational needs of the majority, not just the few. We'll do this through community engagement and social activities. And we've heard this before, but you really want it to offer a range of activities and events and provide amenities that cater to diverse interests and offer a welcoming environment. And again, through this process, we'll create a center that's inclusive and accessible for all. Through the comments that you've shared with us, like a place for all, not just the pickleball players, we need to have activities for groups that aren't as able. So, thinking again about that wide range of age that you have in Sun City, from 55 all the way up until 100 or more. The third question we asked was, what one improvement would you like to see at the Mountain View Recreation Center? So, really, this question asks you to narrow down your priorities to one thing. And so, with this, we're looking for a singular force or a focus in uncovering the most desired improvement at the center. The summation here told us a lot, and it says that you desire a community hub that promotes physical activity, socialization, and community engagement through the renovation and modernization of this center. First up was the renovation and modernization of existing facilities. You want to update and modernize the facilities to improve the overall appearance, amenities, and accessibilities. You've said things like just update the facility, keeping in mind what's necessary, not geared towards selfish interests that the rest of the community should not necessarily be required to support. Through this, a common theme based off of a lot of people showing up was the improvement of the pickleball courts. You've said that you'd maybe want to increase the number of the courts, but you definitely want to improve the surfaces and create that maintenance that's needed, perhaps looking at shade for extended year-round play. We also talked a lot about the renovation of the Performing Arts Center and thinking again about the idea of renovating or rebuilding for modern amenities that improve the seating, the sound, and the stage facilities, but offer a wider and a more expansive use of a center that can support performing arts. You've said things like a performing arts center for all of Sun City that we can be proud of and suits the needs of the players, the musicians, and others who perform, including storage of costumes, sets, and working rehearsal areas. You've also said things like you want to improve the pool and aquatic amenities. We've talked a lot about the existing pool at Mountain View and how it's more like a resort, and you want to keep that aesthetic. But you've also shared with us that another pool, in addition to the renovation of the existing pool, might be advantageous. Through this, you also want to upgrade the fitness center and the wellness facilities. You want to update and enlarge the fitness center, add new equipment, improve the outdoor access and views, and create the outdoor spa areas that you so desperately have been asking for, and we've heard you the past few months. The fourth question that we had asked was, when people enter the renovated Mountain View Recreation Center, how should they feel and what should they be saying? This was more of a theoretical, open-ended question, really trying to get at crafting the lasting impression that you may have at this center. It's maybe what you would say when you're bringing guests or defining the desired experience at the center. You've told us that you want to feel a sense of pride, you want to feel excited, and you want to feel belonging. Members want to be impressed by the modern amenities, resort-like atmosphere, and welcoming spaces that bring the Sun City community together. They want to feel safe, valued, and inspired to live an active, healthy, and connected life. We can do this through just the general excitement and anticipation for the renovations that we're in today. You guys are thrilled and relieved that renovations are moving forward with high expectations for excellence and a desire for impressive, high-quality facilities. Through this, you have an appreciation that the improvements satisfy the majority and that there is great value for the money spent. You also are looking for those resort-style amenities. We talked a little bit before about the pool, but you guys really want resort-style amenities, such as that resort-style pool, outdoor activities, and modern amenities to create a welcoming and beautiful atmosphere. You want to have that sense of community pride and ownership. You want to feel proud of this recreation center and be able to show it off to the visitors who come with a sense of ownership and belonging. You've said things like, this is a modern facility, not aimed for old people, but aimed for the interest of my generation, both today and for tomorrow. We've talked a lot about the importance of safety and accessibility on our other slides, But once again, it came up because you emphasized the importance of safety and accessibility features, such as secure entrances, adequate lighting, and easy ingress and egress. And of course, we need to have fiscal responsibility and transparency. You expressed concerns about the costs, the allocations of resources, and the planning process, and you emphasized the need for fiscal responsibility and transparency and community engagement. The last question that we asked was, what do you consider to be the biggest challenge in ensuring the development of a recreation center that the community can take pride in? At its core, this question recognizes that the development of a pride-worthy recreation center is a complex, multifaceted endeavor. And so really we're asking you what you believe the biggest challenge will be to work with us so that we can overcome it together as we're going through this project. You are empowered by a shared vision for a vibrant and inclusive community. You acknowledge the challenges that lie ahead, including overcoming resistance to change and innovation, ensuring the transparency, accountability, and data-driven decision-making that you need, managing the influence of special interest groups, and preserving Sun City's identity and image. You're concerned about the decision-making processes, and you want to improve them. You want to address the RCSC board and implement a process to make timely decisions by establishing clear decision-making protocols, ensuring transparency, and engaging collaboration amongst the board members. We'll do this through enhanced engagement and communication. We need to foster open communication between the design team and the residents, like this very video we're making today. We'll do regular updates, town hall meetings, and online forums to keep you updated, to keep you moving along with us as this process continues. We need to balance competing interests and develop a prioritization of framework to balance the needs and wants of various special interest groups, such as pickleball enthusiasts, while ensuring that decisions benefit the community as a whole, going back to the mission, vision, and values that Brad was mentioning earlier. We need to address the financial concerns, develop a comprehensive financial plan that addresses budget constraints, ensures cost effectiveness, and provides transparency into the final decision making to alleviate concerns about overspending. You all are concerned about how much we'll be getting out of this Mountain View Recreation Center project and how much it's going to cost. You've said things like cost, of course. The change in leadership creates loss on continuity and long-term project planning and management. So as we're going through this process and moving into programming, we need to right-size this recreation center for the site, but also for the users at the end of the day. And through this, we'll foster collaborative leadership. We need to ensure that the RCSC board provides strong, responsible leadership by promoting collaboration, trust, and cooperation among board members, and by encouraging community involvement in decision-making processes. So now we took all of these principles and themes from the last 5 questions and put them all together to begin to categorize them, which will help us drive our thinking about overlaying these onto the Mountain View Recreation Center site in particular. And through this, you'll see the boxed principles, and then underneath, we have the themes that complement that principle. And so the themes that really complement the first one, which is preserving existing amenities, are the enhancement of the pool and aquatic amenities, the upgrading of the fitness center and the wellness facilities, the improvement of the pickleball courts, and the renovation of the Performing Arts Center. Again, those all go under preserving the existing amenities, which became a common principle for this project in particular. Under inclusivity and accessibility, we talked about balancing competing interests, because again, this project is for all, not just the select few. So we need to develop a prioritization framework that balances the needs and wants of various special interest groups as we move forward in this project. Sustainability and maintainability was a huge comment and theme that came out of our 5 questions. And through this, we also need to address the financial concerns that go along with the buildings that we design so that they can be maintainable for longer than just the next 5 years or 10 years. We'll prioritize environmentally friendly and fiscally responsible solutions to ensure that long-term sustainability for the city of Sun City. Quality of life and enjoyment really became a theme because of two things: sense of community pride and ownership, and the excitement and anticipation for renovations. Really, this center is aimed at creating a place to go and enjoy and talk about with your grandchildren, or go and meet your friends in a leisurely spot that is easily maintained, new, and modern. The next theme is efficiency and effectiveness. And under this, we talked about fostering collaborative leadership, enhancing engagement and communication, and improving the decision making processes. This is really talking about getting this project done. We want to talk about being a community that actually wants to have well maintained, modernized, and optimized buildings that maximize the usage and benefit. And together we'll find this out through our programming exercises, but also what we'll talk about later in the presentation, which is using these guiding principles and overlaying them onto your existing site to see what fits, what doesn't fit, and what needs to be done to ultimately create that efficient schedule and efficient plan to get Mountain View Recreation Center modernized and accessible for all. We'll do this through that renovation and modernization of the facilities, including the fitness center, the theater, and the performing arts building, to ensure that they are modern, safe, and accessible. You had a great desire for resort style amenities, and that came through both what's existing there, but also the history and legacy of this site. There were so many pictures of your pool and that resort style amenity back in the 60s. We actually showed some of those photographs earlier in the presentation. And so you guys said that you want resort style amenities, that resort style pool and the outdoor activities with modern amenities and shade. And we can't wait to bring that to you. And of course, fiscal responsibility, also under the lens of being efficient and effective. You want to manage those costs and resources effectively to ensure that this renovation is affordable and sustainable. So again, these are our main principles and underneath the themes. And in the next couple of slides, you'll see why we actually pulled these out and what we do with overlaying these onto Mountain View Recreation Center site.
Thanks, Eric. I'm Tom Connor with triArc Architecture and Design, and I'm going to now talk to you about how we use those guiding principles and some other data that we collected along with that. The guiding principles I think are going to be a great roadmap for us, bookended by preserving existing amenities and bookended at the other end with fiscal responsibility. In addition to those guiding principles, another aspect of what we did for you is do a facility condition assessment. So we and our partner, Kraus Anderson Contracting, did a full facility assessment of everything on Mountain View. Everything from the condition of the pavement to the condition of the electrical systems, the mechanical systems, and there's a large data set that has been provided to RCSC and can be provided to the community for everything that's out there, the condition that it's in, what sort of deferred maintenance needs to be done that has not been done, and costs associated with those, so estimates of those costs. And so what they've developed is what they call a facility condition index, which gives us a good idea of the criticality of some of this deferred maintenance that's been put off on Mountain View for a while, since we knew that this redevelopment was going to happen. And you can see that the index is color coded. So if it's in the green range, the condition of the element is pretty good. And as you get into the red range, it becomes very critical that those deferred maintenance items need to happen. So the purpose of that FCI, this condition index, will help RCSC make good decisions for fiscal responsibility, and determine some catch-up costs, what it would take to bring these facilities back to just what they are now, not bringing them into the future. So that'll be good information to help make informed decisions on where to put the money, redeveloping, renovating facilities versus perhaps replacing some of the elements. And as you'll see here, we've broken the various parts of the facility out, from the spa and locker room, the tennis courts, and assigned facility index, condition index for each of these elements. And you can see that some of the elements are in the red. The spa, which we know has been decommissioned, is obviously in the red because it's not in good condition, which is why it was decommissioned. Tennis is in pretty good shape, and go on down the line for the index for each of these items. So we're going to start overlaying the condition of the element versus how much interest there is in the community and usage rates from the ASU data. And that's what is on this slide here. So on the right, you'll see the condition score for each of the elements and color-coded for easy reading. We also have the community engagement. So this is the amount of interest we got from you in our community engagement events as far as what people were interested in. High interest in the pool and spa. You guys love that resort pool, which is obvious. And that's what we heard in our engagement with you. We also have the scores from the ASU data as far as how much usage Sun City-wide your aquatics get. And so there's quite a bit of usage of your aquatics facilities, Sun City-wide, water walking, very high usage rates, 51%. So you can see each of these elements show what you were interested in, what you told us you were interested in, how much usage you get, and then the condition of that element on Mountain View. So I think starting to combine these data points will give a good roadmap to the RCSC board and help them inform them as to maybe where the money needs to be spent. So with that, we're going to take a look at each of these elements in more detail and break it out as far as usage and condition, and I will let Brad speak to that. Thank you.
Thanks, Tom. So what does this all mean for Mountain View Recreation Center? What we're going to do now is run through a series of diagrams that look at each individual element, understanding all of the information that we've brought together. Community outreach information, usage data, facility assessment, and even maintaining and still looking at the overall mission and values of RCSC. So on the screen now is an aerial view of the current campus as it exists. This doesn't represent any updates or changes, just how it exists currently. And if we overlay each individual element as it was broken out in the facility assessment, we can begin to look at each of these areas and try to understand how we proceed with the overall renovation of the Mountain View Recreation Center. So from site work to the pool, to the auditorium, to pickleball, all of the elements in between, we're going to look at them individually and start to understand what our guiding principles, assessments, and usage data tell us for each. So just looking at the overall facility assessment overlaid onto the site, you start to see just how much maintenance is required of Mountain View Recreation Center. And this isn't a surprise. As Tom had mentioned, the deferred maintenance has been paused for some of these, knowing that the larger renovation project was coming. But this does put it into context how much work we need to do at Mountain View Recreation Center to bring it up to those amenities that the community can be proud of. Again, red is critical, bad, green is good. So there are a couple good areas, and again, not surprising, and we'll run through them, but we know mini golf and tennis have been recently renovated, and so of course, not a surprise there. So let's look at each element individually. Let's start with the pool. Now, there's a lot of information on this slide, and I want to run through what you're going to see for each of the elements. So on the left are the guiding principles that Eric had pulled out and explained. We're going to keep those up for each slide as they are the guiding principles so that we can constantly be reminded of what it is that we're trying to achieve given the outreach that we had with you. The other information includes the community outreach approach. And what that means is, based on what we heard from the community, this is how we would approach this element. But that's not the only thing, right? We also have the usage data and the facility assessment from Kraus Anderson, from the ASU study, that we want to overlay on top of that as well. And so that information can be found here at the data analysis area. You'll see the FCI score, you'll see usage rates and interest percentages. Again, allowing us to do the data and do the decision making based on real hard evidence of how we should move forward. And then, of course, we have a course of action. And that takes into account all of the information from community outreach to data usage and gives us a path forward for that particular element. So let's look at the pool specifically. The pool, as we've heard, is a high interest, beloved element of Mountain View Recreation Center. And of course, given what we've heard, we're not looking to demolish it, we're looking to renovate and enhance it. So from the community, of course, we heard as a key guiding principle to keep the amenities that exist on site. And so of course we want to keep the pool, but we want to update it to create the types of accessibility and the types of maintainability that is needed for this to be a long-lasting element on this property and in your community. We heard about the want for other types of aquatics engagement, lap swimming, therapy pool, spa. And so we want to bring those elements to the Mountain View Recreation Center. And again, using the guiding principle of not losing anything and enhancing and adding to, what we have and what we have found is that the pool area at Mountain View provides a lot of area for us to integrate a new lap pool, integrate a new spa, while still maintaining the resort pool as an amenity in the center. We heard and saw from the facility assessment report that the pool building, the locker rooms, those things need to be enhanced and updated. We also have found from the facility assessment report that the cool deck for the pool is really beyond maintainability at this point. It needs to be replaced. And so you start to see a path forward with the pool from the community approach of really enhancing and updating and creating that resort style amenity for Mountain View. So what does all of that mean looking at the FCI and usage rate? Well, we already discussed this, right? That the pool itself is in need of update and is in need of deferred maintenance, and that the usage rate from the community was very high. The pool was one of the more beloved and talked about elements. And so the course of action we see here with poor condition, high usage, and high interest is to ensure that we devote the resources to upgrade and enhance this element on Mountain View. All right, so let's move on to the exercise and therapy area. Again, we're going to follow this same outline, looking at the community outreach based on the guiding principles, and then understanding those principles through the lens of the building assessment and the usage data to come up with a recommended course of action. So looking at the exercise room and therapy building, we heard a lot from the community about these elements. Exercise and fitness was something that was discussed quite often with our outreach efforts. So what we heard from the community is needing to enhance and support secure access, and looking at the therapy building specifically, which currently houses your therapy pool, getting that therapy pool up and running again, but having it nearby the other aquatics areas so that those types of amenities can be in shared use and used in kind of a dual way as they're meant to be used. What's interesting about that is it allows us to start thinking about how we could expand and reimagine fitness offerings at Mountain View. Now, there is an existing building there. That existing building, as you can see with the coloration, is in a kind of critical state of repair. And we'll need to think very hard about how we can either move forward with a new space to provide the types of amenities that we've heard that you and your community want in this particular area. What's interesting is if we think about the guiding principles, again, we're not going to take away any existing amenities. Where can we expand and where can we add to Mountain View? we saw with the pool that there was areas around it that provided us the means to add a lap pool potentially, or add the therapy pool. Well, the exercise area is also a beneficiary of one of the few areas where the site is allowed to expand, and that is to the south of the existing therapy building. We have a piece of the site that is very underutilized at the moment, but that does allow us to have this opportunity to explore expansion and explore other outdoor amenities that can be used in concert with exercise. So, of course, we heard from the community this idea of holistic wellness, of offerings that are for the entirety of your community, from all levels, all ages, to all abilities. And so, this idea of having a more holistic look at exercise and wellness through these areas of the site becomes a very interesting opportunity here. Now, looking at the usage data, we can see again, this is a very highly used part of the community with a relatively high interest as well. And so, given all of that put together, we again, critical to fair condition, very high usage, and fair interest, we need to devote resources to upgrade and enhance this area. So, moving on, we will look at all of the ways we can do that, whether it be through renovation, expansion, again, potentially a new build given the state of the current building itself. So the auditorium. If there was any program piece that solicited more conversation, it was obviously the auditorium. And this is a critical piece of Mountain View, and it's a critical piece of the discussion and the reason why we're here working with you today. So we've had lots of conversations about the auditorium and what it means to be a part of the Sun City community and how best to provide this amenity to the community. There were times where we were looking at the auditorium in other places and other areas, but talking to the community and hearing what you want, it became clear that given some of the key guiding principles, especially this notion of preserving existing amenities, maintaining the amenities that exist on the sites that they exist at, so that we're not losing space or other amenities at other properties, it became clear that the auditorium space needs to remain at Mountain View. And that's a great thing to now have and to understand, because we can move forward very confidently with how we pursue the auditorium space on Mountain View, knowing that it's going to be on this property. Now, looking at the facilities condition report, the auditorium building is not in good shape. It is an older building. It's one of the original buildings in the community, and it really needs a lot of love. It also doesn't perform the way that we heard the community needs it to perform. We heard very much from the community that performance auditorium space is going to be greatly enhanced by groups who need a tiered floor experience. And providing that tiered floor experience probably puts us in a place where we need to reimagine and relook at building a building, designing a building in this area from the ground up. The auditorium space, also looking at one of the key guiding principles, is the idea of efficiency, modernization, effectiveness. I think there's been a lot of stumbling over the idea that a performance space is only for certain groups in the community. But we know from talking to you that there are a multitude of groups and a multitude of people that would find a great use for an auditorium space with a more modern AV system and a tiered floor experience for great sight lines and good acoustics. So looking at the guiding principles, the facility assessment, the community interest, again, there was a lot of discussion about the auditorium and how we can pursue it. It really does point us in a direction of making sure that we meet the needs as discussed. And we will have time to explore those needs in detail through our programming effort. But I would say right now that all of that points to looking at either a very major renovation or a new build on the auditorium to provide the elements and the amenities that we heard from you that you need in a auditorium space. So now we get to some of the outdoor elements. And again, there has been some deferred maintenance done on a few of the outdoor amenities provided at Mountain View. Tennis is one of those that had recently been invested in. It's in relatively good shape. It does provide a hard court surface for tennis, but there are things that we can discuss as we move into programming about how to best use this space. If we look at the community usage rate and the community interest rate, those are relatively low. And so the question is to be asked while we get into programming, is this the best use of this area for Mountain View for tennis? Given its recent investment, it may be, but also given how easily it could be converted to other hard court sports, maybe there's some way to deal with that as well. But an interesting question arises even with something like tennis that isn't in poor shape, but that does have less usage than some of the other amenities that we've come across. Pickleball, another highly discussed, highly interest amenity, is in not as good shape as the tennis court. The facility assessment showed us that it does need some deferred maintenance. And in fact, there might even be some maintenance happening on it in the near future just to kind of get us into the short term while this project plays itself out. But from a community outreach approach and from the guiding principles that we've outlined here, again, it's important that we preserve this amenity, that it's here on Mountain View, and that we make sure that we enhance it to the best use and best ability for this project. One of the ideas that has been discussed and that we heard from the community, again, talking about maintainability, accessibility, and efficiency is, well, perhaps if we can't expand pickleball, still to be determined, how can we make it so that it's more easily enjoyed through a longer period of the year by potentially providing shade and protection so that the courts can be used longer and deeper into the day and into the summer, into the hotter months. And also looking at how we potentially can expand it if there's opportunities. And those opportunities, again, need to be explored, but we need to make sure that any expansion has with it a very clear understanding of the other amenities involved. Lawn bowling, another important piece of this puzzle. The lawn bowl here at Mountain View, I think is what we know is one of the few places that you have lawn bowling in the community. So how do we look at lawn bowling and what does it mean through the guiding principles in terms of its approach through Mountain View? Well, again, we've heard that we don't want to lose any amenities. And so given its current condition, it does need some deferred maintenance to be brought up to the level of enhancement that we're looking to create on Mountain View. Now, again, there are interesting conversations to be had. If we look at all of the data and we look at the usage rates and the community outreach interest, both of those are low. Now, all it says to us right now is that an important conversation needs to happen about what is the best use of lawn bowling for the community and for Mountain View Recreation Center. And again, this is all part of the conversations we have moving forward. But those conversations, again, will be guided through the principles that we've established. It might be that because of our fiscal responsibility and because of our ideas of existing amenities and maintainability, that the lawn bowling needs to stay right where it is and get enhanced to be a great lawn for the next decade, multiple decades. Or it could be that a conversation is had about where the community is going and the usage of that community and those amenities and how that usage can be accounted for throughout the entirety of Sun City. And we can look at moving forward with lawn bowling in that way as well. Mini golf was recently recarpeted, and it is an amenity that is being used quite often currently, and really is in a good place and has a good amount of investment already that we don't imagine needing to do much to the course itself. However, Kraus Anderson in our facilities assessment did see that the mini golf building was in a very critical state of disrepair, and we'll need to look at it very carefully on how we bring that up to a modern, safe standard. Looking at the interest rates, one of the things that we found in our conversations is that while it's low for our community outreach efforts, we think that's a little bit biased because when people asked us about mini golf, I think we had even said that, oh, it was recently renovated and we most likely are not going to update or not going to take it away or do anything of that sort. So that community interest number, I think, is a little suppressed because of that. But we know that the usage is high and we know that it's in great shape. So really our focus will be on integrating it into the overall renovation and making sure that building is to a very safe and durable place moving forward. So the site work, this encompasses a lot of the project. We know the site work encompasses many things. It encompasses parking, it encompasses the spaces between amenities, and the site work is a very critical aspect to the overall renovation. It is those in-between spaces that a lot of the socialization happens. It's the site work that allows for, the choreography of your movement from car to amenity to in between amenities. So it's a really important part of this project and how we think about it. So when we talk about the site, we know that Mountain View has these two parking areas, and those parking areas are critical to how Mountain View is going to work in the future, especially given the fact that the community outreach and the usage data has told us that the auditorium wants to remain here, that we are well parked for those types of high use events. We also heard from our community discussions that the site is also an opportunity to enhance the security of the site and to offer other outdoor amenities like walking paths, places to socialize, more shade, more landscape, in a way that is not only comfortable for the community, but also that is done in a way that's highly maintainable and fiscally responsible moving forward. I think from what we've heard, given the facility assessment report, we know things similar to the pool deck. We know that the asphalt is at a point of needing to be replaced, and we will address that. But I think overall, we're going to be looking at these outdoor areas as opportunities to deal with some of these other critical guiding principles of community engagement, of comfort, of shade, of accessibility, of exercise. The outdoor spaces can become critical components to all of the elements that are offered here, right? The auditorium, pre-function space, or space as you gather before or after an event becomes an important part of that experience. And so all of that together, we'll want to make sure we're looking holistically at as we move forward with the renovation. So from a course of action point of view, we are enhancing, we're upgrading, and we're aligning with the priorities of the site as we uncover them through our programming exercises. So we looked at all of the elements, and seeing them all together, we can see a lot of critical and fair condition married with a lot of high interest sprinkled throughout with some lower use amenities. But overall, we know that Mountain View is a critical property for Sun City, especially the southern portion of Sun City. And the courses of action that we found through the community outreach, through the overlay of the data, is that we really do need to enhance, expand, and imbue this property with the new amenities and modernized amenities it needs to be that critical resource for the community moving forward. So what are the key takeaways from all of this effort, all of this analysis? What we found, and we're really excited by these findings, is a lot of alignment between all of the disparate efforts that have gone into starting to basically create the foundation for the design work on the Mountain View Recreation Center site. So as we talked about throughout this presentation, we have found very strong alignment between the Sun City missions and values, what we heard from the community's usage rate per amenity, and the condition and maintenance needs of Mountain View. That's all very positive. It gives us a very strong foundation to move into programming and development of this project. There are not a lot of big questions that were remained unanswered after doing this work. And I think we're all very excited by the confidence we have moving forward with you in this project. So when we look at those alignments and we look at what it means for the project, it's kind of a clear way forward. And that way forward is analyzing and looking at these amenities through the framework that we have established. We can now look at a program and programming this project very confidently, very succinctly with the ideas of, well, what are the sizes and budgets and usages of each individual element, and how we can right size all of that to create, again, a holistic plan for Mountain View and for the amenities that it's going to support here. We know that there's going to be pickleball. We know there's going to be an auditorium space. We know there's going to be a great pool. And we're going to have conversations about all of the exterior amenities as well. And so I think what we have found through this outreach and the guiding principles that came from it is that we now have a very strong way forward to begin the programming effort and move into design quickly to take on what has been a long process and waiting, but we're ready to move forward and move forward quickly and confidently. Thank you.
Sun City is unique and special. You have amazing assets in your recreation centers. We look forward to being part of the next steps of Mountain View with you as your partner. We've seen your guiding principles, which will be layered into everything we do moving forward, and we're ready to get started.